Hey, what's up YouTube? It's TJ Lawton here, and today I want to show you how you can make a stereo rack that has a lot of control on it, so you can control the width if you want it super wide or just a little bit of stereo, and you can also control the volume, so you can bring the stereo down in volume or bring it up to match the level of the original signal. And I'm going to show you how to do this very, very quickly with just a simple rack and your favorite stereo widening tool, whether that be like a delay, a chorus effect, or some sort of stereo enhancing tool. I'm going to use Synth Taurus 2, which is from the D16 group, but you can use like Ableton's built-in chorus, anything like that will work. So I've got this sound coming out of Diva, and it's mono, but to prove it's mono, I've also got a utility tool on here, but it's mono, so this is a completely mono sound. And if I turn this rack on, it'll hear the stereo enhancement. I can control how wide it is, so as you hear now, as I bring the width tool down, it's going to go from completely wide to sort of narrowing, and then completely mono. And with the volume, I can bring down how loud that's only the stereo field, so it leaves the original signal completely the same. This is really useful because you get a lot of control of the stereo instead of just slapping a chorus effect on and giving it like 40% wet and then trying to dial it in. This way you have a lot more control. You can also automate things, so you can make it wider and more mono in breaks and stuff like that if you wanted to. Let's go over how this works. So I'm actually going to take the Synth Taurus tool out and I'm going to delete this rack. So this is, as you can see, just a chorus effect, and I've got it 100% wet. That's where we want to start. So this is what it sounds like if I just put the VST on. As you can hear, it's wide, but then the mono signal's getting mixed in with that. Also, there's lots of sub in the stereo field, which you don't really want. So the first thing we're going to do is put this Control G to put this into an effects rack, and we're going to create a new chain. And I put this one on the bottom. I'm going to call this like stereo widener, and we call this dry, or actually we call this mono, and we call this sides. And I'm going to give this the color blue. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a utility tool, put this in, and click mono. This just means that this channel here is now a completely mono output, which is fine because the input's mono. If you're having a stereo sound go into this, you might not want to do this, just so you're not taking away the natural stereo sound that the sample might have, and instead you're going to be adding additional stereo to an already stereo sound, which makes it even wider if you want. Otherwise, what you can do here is you can take away the stereo and then add in your own artificial stereo. Really up to you. So this is optional whether you have this on here or not. I'm going to have this on here now just to prove that, just to show the cleansiness of it, of like this is a mono signal and this is a stereo signal. So now that we've got the Synth Taurus on here, we've got our mono signal here and our side signal here. However, this still has mono signal in it. So one of the first things we have to do is come here, right click this, put it in mid-side mode, and push this all the way up, so we're only getting the stereo. So now if I solo these one by one, you'll hear one is mono and one is only stereo. So now we've completely separated the stereo and the mono signal. Next up, we're going to grab an EQ8, and I've got a preset here that I've made, but if you just come here and click this, so it's in S and this is in stereo, you can only cut away what's in the stereo field. So I just do this to sort of take away any low end, well, take away any subs really in the low end, because you don't really want stereo in the sub. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Like, if you know what you're doing, there definitely are songs out there with subby stereos. So take this with a grain of salt. You might want to do this, you might not want to do this, but I'm just going to bring this down to like 120. So yeah, that just controls it a bit. And the next thing we're going to do is stick another utility tool on here, and we're going to use this for control. So make sure you right click this and put it in mid-side mode. I'm going to open up the macros here, and we only need two macros. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this, we're going to macro it here. So we're going to macro this, we're going to come here to the macro settings, and we're just going to bring the max down to 0, because we don't want this to go stereo. We want this to be wide, but then we can make it more mono. So this means that we can go from 0 to -100, or from neutral to all mono basically. And then the next macro we want is just the volume here. You could take this volume or you could take the gain knob here. I prefer to take this volume here. Let's put that in and then just say like stereo volume. And this would be stereo width. Give these a color just because I like to, just an aesthetic choice. Take off the mapping. and there you go. Then you've got a stereo widening rack. One thing I would do actually is put this to 0 as well. We don't want this to, you might want to put this up to +6, but I usually put to 0 because generally you don't want the stereo field to be louder than your mono. But hey, play around with that. Maybe you'll find some interesting sounds. So now we've got what I showed at the start. We've got a stereo rack that completely controls the stereo field and the mono signal at the same time, giving you a lot more control over your stereo. It's very clean as well because these two signals are not going to clash. One is completely mono, one's completely stereo. So you're not going to get any weird sort of overlap. Obviously, you can still get phase cancellation if it sounds super wide. Once it's put into a club system that's using mono, that stereo signal is going to be pulled in with the mono signal, and that can cause phase cancellation. But that's more of a mixing thing, and that's something you're going to have to look into yourself. There are tools. I think PAS Analyzer Stereo, for example, will help with this. So what you do is open this up, and it will show you if anything is in the red, it's anti-phase. So when things are in the red like that, when they're brought in, they'll cause phase cancellation. The phase cancellation means your volume is going to dip because the waves are going to cancel each other out. So if you have these a lot of signal in the red, you basically just want to bring down the volume or the stereo width. So there we go. Just by bringing the knobs down a little bit, we can completely control our stereo field and get rid of any anti-phase. You still maybe want a bit of anti-phase, especially when you think about things like pads. They generally sound good really, really wide. So it doesn't mean that you have to have it completely in the blue, but you know, if it looks like this, where there's just as much in the blue as there is the red, then you've probably got a problem. So you know, you can use these macros up here just to quickly tame it and get it more under control. Boom. Still super wide and now super clean in the stereo fields. So yeah, that's the stereo rack. I hope you found this useful. It's super easy to make. You know, you can make this, you can put your favorite stereo plugin in. It could be, like I said, a delay unit with a Hass effect. It could be chorus. It could be some sort of vocal widener, anything you can think of. I would just trial and error them and see which one you like the best. Maybe make a rack for each one of your favorite chorus units. Just make sure that the stereo here is 100%. And then make sure that you have a utility tool which is getting rid of any mono signals, so you only have stereo in it. And then just macro these volume and the mid-side control, just so you have more control. So that's it. I hope you found the video useful, and yeah, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.